Hi everyone, and welcome to this video in the Valkyrie Sound series on the sounds of alien isolation. In the last video we gave our character some life using footsteps and foley. In this video we're going to focus on stings, what they are, how they're made, and how they're used in Alien Isolation and in the original film. A sting is a musical phrase or sound effect that's used to punctuate what's happening on screen.
Let me help you.
Move! Get out of there!
Don't you move! Down! Move down! Move down! Get out! Oh. No, not that way! The other way! Go!
This is pure nonsense. Doesn't prove a thing.
I thought you'd feel that way, Gary. You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
The connection between audio and visual is implicit. The sting is a signal that something is either happening or about to happen. The screech of the alien as the hot needle touches the blood only works as a sting because we have such a relatively quiet section before it. The original Alien film uses a particular sound to signal the xenomorph's attack in all but the last scene. After John Hurt's character, Kane, seemingly recovers from his experience and the crew sit down to eat before re-entering cryogenic sleep, a heartbeat underscores the whole scene.
The first thing that I'm going to do when I get back is to get some decent food.
The heartbeat sound appears again for Dallas's death sequence. And it reappears at various points as Lambert and Parker gather fuel for the escape shuttle, and as they're attacked. It appears throughout the film in different forms as well. In the opening scenes, as we pass through the Nostromo, the rhythm of pistons plays a mechanical heartbeat effect for the ship. The heartbeat is there in Alien Isolation too, mostly when you're hiding and the xenomorph is nearby, or when you're about to enter a scripted event. Everything is used to tell you, don't move, there's something out there. But of course you have to move. You're compelled by the narrative theme of escape, which will eventually lead to you facing up to the danger in close quarters.
Oh, I get it. Classic misdirection.
When Dallas is killed, we have this blend of the biological and the mechanical, but this time a relationship between the audio and the visual. The alien screams, and that sound becomes the audio distortion of the analog screen that then fills our vision, a terminated transmission. This all taps into Giger's treatment of the xenomorph designs as biomechanical, a mix-up, as he put it, of technical and organic things. Crafting a sound effect sting depends very much on what the event is. Music stings arguably offer more flexibility because they aren't as linked to on-screen events, or they aren't linked in quite the same way. We can still blend in environmental sounds, and this gives us the same level of access to the biomechanical slant, but from a different direction. Crafting a musical sting is actually pretty straightforward. There are a few dozen musical stings in Alien Isolation, there's a link below, and this is what we're about to look at. If you don't have the instruments or the time to put these together, I've linked a few of my stings below that you can download. Your basic science fiction horror music sting can be broken down into 3 parts: the impact, tension, and an inconclusive finish. The drum, the thump, the mechanical clunk, whatever it is, it usually follows a period of relatively low volume, with on-screen action typically limited to slow-moving or stationary actors. Usually the longest section, typically a blend of high and low pitch sounds for real contrast. This is where you'll often hear screeches, scrapes, shrieks, all those distorted orchestral sounds and some sound design elements as well. None of the notes we hear in the middle section resolve. They linger through the use of reverb, and that means the tension created with that first impact is also unresolved. Sometimes the sting will be bookended by relatively low volume before and after it, but not always. Sometimes it's a lead into a bigger boost in sound or a big swing into action that has a lot more audio going on. These aren't hard rules, you can mix things up however you like. It's a basic template for creating a sting that can be used in a variety of different situations. This is what my sting sounds like. Before we break this one down, we're going to look at a standard music convention that permeates horror music. One of the reasons horror music works so well is that it's often a mixture of dissonance and consonance. Some research suggests that dissonant sounds trigger a biologically ingrained fear response when coupled with the right visuals. But what does that mean? What is dissonance and what is consonance? Consonance is where we have at least two notes that sound great together. Here we have a C and a G. Dissonance, on the other hand, is where we have a minimum of two notes that, when played together, sound absolutely awful. Here we have a C and the D flat above it. Here a C and the B below it. Here a C and the F sharp above it. And here we have all of those notes in one chord. And notice how similar the first few notes are to the opening bars of Jerry Goldsmith's score for Alien. Now that we understand dissonance and consonance, let's have a look at the sting. Screeching, scratching, high-pitched strings and wind instruments are where we usually find dissonance in horror's music stings. The lime green sections here are dissonant high strings with this higher pitched violin in orange on top. In purple here we have our impact sound. The percussion here has several layers to it to add definition to the lower frequencies. Lots of reverb on that one. Percussion actually is really great for stings and just for sound effects in general, especially if it's used unconventionally. The purple line here is for a cymbal that's being bowed with the bow from a stringed instrument like a cello. That creates some unstable high frequencies that clash with the high strings. Finally, in a nod to Geiger's biomechanics, what we have here in the turquoise is a dumpster, with a few effects added to distort and echo it. This line here is just adding extra bass while we have this top-heavy, high-frequency sounds here. So if we took that away and played the whole sting without it, it needs something at the lower end just to give it a bit more depth. So if we add that in and then play again, so this is another sting that I put together, and here you can see that I've moved the discordant strings to the start. I've added a rising synth that pulses, and I've put the impact right at the end, adding lots of reverb. So now you've acquired or crafted some stings, how can we actually use them in a game? Putting aside the obvious use of stings in scripted animation scenes or in-game cinematics, stings are useful when there's a general lull in activity but you still want the player to feel tension, such as exploring a new area or the flight recorder scene in Alien Isolation.
No!
There isn't actually any danger, but through stings and other musical conventions you can imply that there might be, keeping the player on their toes. False jump scares can lull them into a sense of false security, ready for the major event.
Stay focused.
Unauthorized access detected. Security lockdown initiated. Please wait for security check.
Although you can deploy stings at random intervals, it's going to be much better if you can feed off game systems that effectively monitor potential player tension. How many enemies are there nearby? How long has it been since the player's last encounter? How long is it since the last sting was played? Is this a new area, or is the player returning to an old one? How much health, ammo, armor, or equipment does a player have? What's happening next in the story? One thing we've not looked at in this series is how to implement sound design as part of the game design, interweaving audio with the game's mechanics and dynamics from start to finish. This is something I'll cover in a future series. If your game logs player information, you can use this to inform how your game audio behaves now, in every aspect, from dialogue to music, stings, and sound effects. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, take care, and enjoy making your own projects.
I felt we had to talk with Ralph Twice's widow to see how much she knew.
Please go away. Please go away. I don't want to answer any more of your questions.
We're sorry to bother you at a time like this, Mrs. Twice. We would have come earlier, but your husband wasn't dead then.